Hey, English students. This is a tutorial for the adventures of Tom Sawyer. Some extra things that I think you ought to know besides the other two sources that you have. So I'll try to keep this short, add this to your notes. Um, Mark Twain. I want us to kind of go from the standpoint of looking at this novel from the Adventures of Tom Sawyer from his perspective and what he believes, and trying to think about, okay, what's he communicating in this short book. So here's a couple things that he said, and they kind of give us a clue as to what he might be saying in Tom Sawyer to us. He said, "Do the right thing; it will gratify some people and astonish the rest." Twain is interested in doing the right thing instead of the wrong thing, of course. And he also said this: whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it is time to pause and reflect. I'm not sure that I would quite say that Mark Twain is a rebel that fights against the majority, but he certainly has a lot of things to say about those that are in power and charge, a lot to say about different social institutions, the church, education. He's pretty critical and judgmental in a way, but he really likes to see people be honest and real. And we say that these days, we say, I just like him or her because he is real or she is real. Mark Twain is a real proponent. Well, not directly. He's not. He's just writing in a realistic way, and he becomes a well-known author that falls under what we call realism or a realist. And this is a movement in writing and art in the 1800s that emphasizes real life. And so Twain really wants to depict things as they really are. And he doesn't want to sugarcoat things, or unlike the previous book we read, it's a little more romantic with, for example, Great Expectations, or maybe even more so To Kill a Mockingbird. Those two books right there are a little bit different in the sense that real life isn't trying to be depicted in the same way. And so he's going to go out of his way to make Tom Sawyer very realistic. And so he's going to use the dialect. He's going to give us a very clear understanding of that dialect that's going to really affect the diction of the text, as well as, of course, the language, his style of language in the text. That local color that we would assume that Tom Sawyer is going to have coming from this time period in the Midwest and Missouri. And definite depictions of what's good and bad. A lot of internal struggle for Tom Sawyer as he makes all these decisions and does all these things. You can see this picture of a little cat here, what he's hanging up in front of this other kid. And Tom Sawyer is going to come across as being a kid who makes some poor choices, but has a good heart. And I think that Mark Twain has something to say to us through that. And it's a real critical look at Twain's world. He really jabs at the church, at schools, and the roles of society. And he uses that through the eyes of a child who's just honest. And Tom Sawyer is that he's just honest. And he's just trying to do what a normal kid does. And he gets in trouble, and he does some things that are a little bit questionable for sure. But I think Mark Twain wants to teach something through that. So I want you to keep your eyes on that in the text. Kind of think about that. What is Twain saying through this? Is this really right when Tom Sawyer does this? Or is this really wrong the way that other characters think it's wrong in the text? What does Mark Twain have to say about it? So we're also going to see his humor and satire. We've talked about satire a lot with Dickens. And if you thought that Dickens used satire a lot, well, Twain's a master of it. His deliberate attempts at humor throughout the novel use the following devices: satire. It's really, it can be subtle at times. I mean, you can barely feel it, but then other times it's just really biting. I mean, he just directs it right at people. So, and again, it's about institutions, about the value systems of people those times, about race relations. That's a big part of Tom Sawyer, but even a bigger part of Huckleberry Finn, which you'll read later, hopefully when you're a junior. And this can also be directed at individuals as well. He'll use hyperbole, exaggerating for effect, which really becomes part of that satire. And of course, he'll use those reversals, those ironic reversals in the text. So what we're expecting to happen is not what actually happens, which is kind of funny when in a lot of different situations, including at school and in church when Tom is there. So it's really a story of boyhood and growing up. Unlike Great Expectations or other books that follow the standard, what we call like a Bildungsroman, where they actually grow up throughout their entire life, it doesn't follow him through his entire life, but we do see through the eyes of a child. So when you read this, I really want you to think, how is this different than Great Expectations through Pip's eyes? How is this different than To Kill a Mockingbird through her eyes? So what exactly is it that how is Tom different, and what is Twain saying through that? So as stated before, Tom's basically a good kid who makes some trouble, makes some mischief, and causes trouble. And we're going to see a lot of that. So we're also going to see a lot of these internal struggles that he has, and we're going to see him make these choices, and his conscience, his moral compass, the part of him that decides what's good or bad is always at work. And so those are a couple of things to keep in mind as you read Tom Sawyer. I want you to really compare to some of the other texts that we've read in class. Look forward to talking about it.